Good afternoon. Thank you for stepping into the Foul Playland. As always, I'm your Foul Player. I want to make a video regarding the recent parting of ways between the New York Mets and Carlos Beltran, their newly hired manager for this 2020 season. As you all know, after a long, somewhat extensive search, the Mets settled on hiring Carlos Beltran as their manager for this upcoming season. I think a lot of people weren't exactly clamoring for Beltran as the new manager. There were other candidates that the Mets fans wanted more, including myself. But when they settled on Beltran, I mean, it was a there wasn't too much ire in the Mets nation. I think a lot of people were okay with it, just like a lot of people receive Beltran as Met fans or as a player in the eyes of Met fans. I think a lot of people were like the same way when it came to him as a coach. But now that the season is closer to happening now, we're a couple of weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting to St. Lucie for spring training. Um, Things were settled in. Then early last weekend, you started hearing a lot more traction to Carlos Beltran being more involved with this calling pitches scandal with the Houston Astros. And this goes back to his time as a player. And I'm sure that other players were also part of it. According to reports, Carlos Beltran was one of the people that helped concoct the scheme. But he's since retired and now he got hired as the coach. But there was a lot of media, especially yesterday and the day before, from people saying that they were expecting the Mets to part ways with him. You got a interview with Mark Teixeira, former Yankee player. I believe he worked for ESPN, saying that the Mets can't bring him back, showing his disapproval or sort of disguised disgustment with it. I mean, which I always take that with a grain of salt when it comes from Yankee players or ex-Yankee players. But whatever have you. I mean, like, it didn't seem like the Mets nation was up in arms, disgusted by like the fact that we were retaining Beltran potentially. They were cool with it, and I think in like message boards and listening to ESPN radio and WFAN radio here in New York, a lot of Met fans were actually calling into the station saying that they wanted Beltran to be retained. But in true Met fashion, a couple weeks before the dawn of spring training, the Mets and Carlos Beltran supposedly chose to part ways. I have my theories as to why this happened, and I'll get to that in a second. But I mean, I'm not happy about it in the slightest. I think it sucks. I think we sort of caved into the pressures from the MLB offices, but I digress. I guess I'll get into that in the latter portion of this video. Having said that, the head coaching candidates that the Mets have at this current venue, from what I'm hearing, you have they want to maybe stay within the organization and promote Henry Mullins as to the head coach from the bench coach, and he was just hired this year. So I don't know. I'm a little funky about that because you're hiring as a bench coach, and you don't hire a bench coach thinking he's gonna be your guy. They also have rumors of Eduardo Perez, the ESPN analyst, colorful guy as an analyst, um, kind of annoying to listen to, like on the ESPN broadcast, to be frank. But I don't know. On the broadcast, he just fits me as the token Latin guy. No offense, I'm Latin myself, Puerto Rican. That's why I was happy that Beltran was hired for Puerto Rican coach for the Mets. But yeah, I'm not too crazy about Eduardo Perez. They say another candidate is Tim Bogar, the Nats first base coach. They say he made an impression on the Mets brass. More important, most of all, Brody Van Wagenen. I think that latter portion of it kind of puts a damper on things as far as my endorsement, if that means anything. Like somebody who makes an impression on Brody Van Wagenen, it's not sold for me. But another candidate is Kevin Long. I mean, if there's anybody who I would be sort of okay with, I think Kevin Long would be a decent candidate. Bring in a good pitching coach to help him out, maybe. Long is kind of actually, nah, I take that back because it's very reminiscent of Mickey Callaway, who I thought they should have retained to be frank. But he's kind of like a feel goody coach, and I don't know if more of the same is gonna bring our team to the next level. Another coaching candidate is Luis Rojas, the Mets quality control coach, whatever that means. Um, he's on the staff as we speak. I hear that he actually would make a good coach, but who knows? Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not here nor there as far as who they should hire. I wouldn't mind if they got Buck Showalter into the mix, but apparently they weren't. The Mets weren't sold on Buck Showalter, so I think for that reason alone, I probably want to bring him in. Like, I mean, I want him as a coach, and with the fact that Buck Showalter is a the last of what I consider great coaches that are still alive. Um, yeah, but I want to get into my theory as to why this may have happened. A couple of days ago, they said I heard a rumor that the MLB was approving the Steve Cohen sale to or purchase of the Mets from the Wilpon family or Sterling Equities, if you will. Steve Cohen, as many of you know, is a investor, and he's been rumored to be purchasing the Mets, which I'm stoked about. It's one of the only good Mets bits of news that I've got probably since I was born. I mean, frankly, it's like probably the best news. But I think that there was a little bit of a screening process that happened, and maybe the fact that this was a pending transaction, as some of you may know, Steve Cohen is a big Met fan. He's also very liberal as far as his spending goes. Um, so yeah, I think the fact that the sale was still pending, and now all of a sudden, there's rumors that it might happen. I think Manfred and the powers that be at the MLB office, they wanted Beltran out as the coach because of this scandal with the sign stealing, and maybe they had some sort of influence as over the Mets in getting Beltran out of there, so that this sale or potential sale happened smoothly. That's one of my theories. I mean, like, because according to the Mets, Beltran was forthcoming and honest as far as his involvement with the scandal. You know, so they already knew what's up. I mean, like, if he were lying about the whole thing, and then they end up finding out that he's a big part of the sign stealing scandal, then yeah, I see like why you would want to fire him. But if he was being forthcoming, according to the Mets, why wait damn near a week or more like to let him go? So I don't know. I mean, I think that the MLB being miffed at Beltran's involvement had a real big influence over this Beltran parting of ways with the Mets happening. You know, so I guess I can't be too mad in I mean, we're sort of back at square one, or a one step back, or a half step back. I just don't like going into the season like this. Like I ain't like, you know, even the potential of this, and now it actually does happen where they do let him go, and then, starting off the year like this, in a year where I think it was very important for us to be taking a step forward with the young core that we have in place, and with the fact that we were just outside of making the playoffs at year's end. Ending the year off very strong. You wanted to go into the year um, with a lot of those good vibrations. And again, too, we do have a young core and a young team in place in a lot of important spots for us, with a lot of the players that we'll be going forward with in the next 3 years. That are still going to be here. You don't want that tumultuousness, like happening with the Mets. If you're a player that's been here for 3 years, you've seen three coaches in that time. I mean, give me a break. But I mean, I'm a fan of this team. Been a fan for years. Someday I'll show off my Met tattoos when I get more subscribers. But I'm used to this stuff. But whatever have you, it's the team I love. Um, Go Mets. Yeah. I gotta stop my phone because I have a lo-fi setup so you could see my little Met fan um Game of Thrones stuff my wife brought me over Christmas. So I'll end the video with that. Thanks for subscribing. Oh, my in the box Noah Syndergaard from the Mets giveaway this year. With that, I'm out. Thank you for checking me, and thank you for stepping into the Foul Player. As always, I'm your Foul Player. Peace.